Welcome to the show, and today for our first guest we have Kaveri Sequeira, a certified health coach and author, and she's here today to talk to us about the 6 types of hunger. Welcome, Kaveri.
Great to be here, Linda. I love being here.
And today you're talking about the 6 types of hunger. So what are the 6 types of hunger?
Yes, so there are 6 types of hunger, and I'm going to start with the first type of hunger, which is the only genuine hunger that we have, and it's called nutritional hunger. We've evolved to have, when you're hunting and gathering, we've evolved to go with the seasons of the year, and nature has different foods in different seasons, and therefore we would get a wide variety of fruit and vegetables and meat in our diets. So we've been evolved to go and try and get that variety in our hunger, in our diet, so we can actually meet that hunger. Unfortunately, these days when we go and look at our shopping carts, we buy the same thing week in and week out. We need to get more variety of natural foods into our trolleys, so we can actually have that variety hunger met. So that is the third type of hunger. The fourth type of hunger, which I to talk about, is the emotional hunger, and that is where when we are feeling sad or angry or stressed, and God knows we've had a lot of things to feel that way about, we generally turn to food as an answer, as a coping mechanism. Now, that is actually not a genuine hunger, right? It is actually, we're trying to cope with our feelings and our emotions at that point in time. And I used to struggle with that as well. Like, if I was missing my mom, I would want to go and eat a chocolate chip cookie, prior to doing this. And when I looked at that, at my mindset of why I was doing it, I was actually wanting love. I was associating love as a feeling to that food. But what would have been a better idea is to actually give her a call and talk to her, because that's the real emotion. So we have to be aware of that emotional hunger, which is not a genuine hunger, but it's something we do as a habit. The fifth type of hunger is low blood sugar hunger. And this is something that we have because we have, I don't know about you, but for most people around 3 o'clock, you have that, cravings that they need to just have something. And that's caused by low blood sugar hunger, because we have a lot of low quality foods which has got high refined sugar in it. And that causes, sugary foods cause a lot of blood sugar spikes. And when that goes slightly low, we think we're hungry, but it's actually because of the diet. So that's something to be aware of. And the sixth type of hunger is empty stomach hunger. Now, we were born in feast and famine times, when we evolved. So we were kind of used to, our stomachs kind of used to shrinking and expanding when we found food, basically. The empty stomach hunger is to get us really to get motivated as a survival strategy, to give us some signs so we can go and hunt and give us some motivation to go and hunt for food, which is essentially, it's quite dangerous to go hunting, right? Because you could get killed. So the trigger we get is, you're hungry, go find some food. But it's not actually, the empty stomach hunger we're talking about is not genuine hunger, because right now we eat 3 meals a day. We don't have to go hunt for our food. We're not doing enough activity, and we're still eating a lot of food. So it's not genuinely, if our stomach growls, it's not the first time. It doesn't mean that our stomach is truly empty. It's the digestive system just kind of clearing up, and doing some work during the minimum rest time. So just be aware that, are you truly hungry? Because you don't have to eat the first time you get a signal from the stomach, because it could be just your digestive system processing the food that you ate for your last meal. So those are the 6 types of hunger.
And why is it important to actually know about these types of hunger?
Absolutely. So I guess education is really important, right? Because when you know about these 6, just by being aware of the 6, you're going to think, okay, am I really feeling emotional? Am I feeling sad? Maybe I should, try and drink a glass of water instead, or go for a walk, or actually try and meet the emotion that is bothering you, or question, am I just thirsty here, or do I have a lot of refined, like I'm having food with a lot of refined sugar in it. So it's just being aware of that really helps. I mean, I've got a story that I can share of a person who constantly used to emotionally binge. She's like in her 30s. She just went through she went through a really difficult life event, and her way of coping at the end of the day was drinking, a couple of glasses of wine in the evening. And that was what she would go to once she realized that it's not actually it's a processed food, and it's going to cause, the next day she would have headaches. She wasn't actually dealing with the grief of what she was going through. So that's where an emotional hunger trigger was done. She coped with alcohol, whereas in evolution we didn't actually have alcohol in our diet. So she's actually not following the natural human diet, and as a result not even meeting her emotions. So it's just good to be aware of what those triggers are and actually deal with what is actually in front of you, not because it's not a genuine hunger. It's not your nutritional hunger.
So Kaveri, then for our viewers, how can they tell? What would be your tips on how they can tell the difference between the types of hunger?
Yeah, sure. So if it's thirst hunger, for example, the best thing you could do is say, have I had enough water today? And then maybe just go and drink a glass of water. Like we should be having 7 to 8 glasses of water a day to be fully hydrated. So that would be a great thing to do. Check if you're really hungry, or is it just that I'm thirsty. So that's a good way to, and then if you have a glass of water and you stop feeling hungry, then you get your answer. The next thing you could do is look at your diet and say, am I having a lot of low quality sugars in my diet? Because that's probably what's causing the blood sugar to spike. So my recommendation is to have a lot more fruit and vegetable in your diet so you get your natural sugars. So that's one thing you could do. The other thing you could do is, just be generally more active in the day. Especially that's really useful for emotional hunger. Like do your 10,000 steps a day, because that'll definitely help you feel better about yourself, have better emotions and mental clarity, and that definitely helps with your mental health and emotional health as well. Mindfulness practices like meditation and deep breathing, breath is a very important part as well. We all need air, so definitely more of that, because you might find that if you have an emotion and you get triggered, a good thing to do would be do 10 deep breaths and then let it out and drink a glass of water and say, I'll take a 10-minute walk and come back, and you might find that you're not hungry for that particular thing again. You actually feel good about yourself because you've not eaten something and then get into that guilty way of thinking, and then that's self-sabotage, and that doesn't help you.
Thank you for that, Kaveri. And for more information on Kaveri and the 6 different types of hunger, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And now we'll go to break and be back after with our next guest. Stay tuned. After the break, the integrative health and wellness expert, Dr Zara Celik, is talking about mindfulness. Welcome back. And next we have Dr Zara Celik, our integrative health and wellness expert. And she's back with us today to talk about mindfulness. So Dr Zara, mindfulness is a huge topic.
Huge one at the moment globally, right? It's like a trending word, so we had the self-care, which I talked about, and now mindful is another one, buzzing one, which I love to touch on to them, bring some, put my input into it. And we all have different perceptions and different reflective awareness about mindfulness. So I love to educate our audience and give my perspective on that. So it's overly used, as we all know, but not many people actually know what it exactly means. In fact, I was just talking to one of the young university students, and she knew I was doing a podcast with somebody else, and then she asked me how it went, and it somehow led to this mindfulness. So I was so intrigued to find out really her perspective and what it meant for her in terms of being mindful. And I sort of got to understand and see what universities were teaching and where the students were at. So I thought, you know what, it'll be great to sort of bring a bit of light onto this topic. So mindfulness is when the mind is completely balanced. If you think of like an algebra maths equation going back to our, early high school, sort of late primary school years, where this one side of the equation equals to the other side of the equation. And that's exactly is what mindfulness is in the mind. So we have two minds. We have the immanent mind, and then we have the transcendent mind. Immanent mind is the amygdala. Transcendent mind is the prefrontal cortex. So I know a bit of neuroscience there. That's okay, but I'm going to explain it more. So when we are in amygdala, we are in fight, flight, freeze. So when we are self-judging, self-critical, or judging other people, or we are living in, the trauma, or we have a lot of neuroassociation pattern, we relate to things our past or event took place, we stay at the immanent mind. And we are going to be at fight, flight, freeze. So then that makes the mind unbalanced because we are spending a lot of time in the amygdala, which is the immanent mind. But I like people to be also aware of and become objective and authentic by becoming aware of the transcendent mind, which is the prefrontal cortex, which is the executive center of the brain. At that brain, when we are at prefrontal cortex, when we are objective, we become authentic, we become creative. So when we are critical or we have body dysmorphic things, which we talked about as well previously, we spend more time focusing on what is not right, rather than seeing objectively what it is there for us, and it is happening for us, not to us. When we become aware of the other side of the equation, we go into that transcendent mind. We become objective. We have reflective awareness. So we are not self-critical. We are seeing things as they are. We're not resenting others. We are not infatuated with other people. We're not admiring them and putting them up here, because we're becoming reflective and we're aware of the things that we see in them is also in us. So that will make us more objective, and we have the reflective awareness. I hope I'm not confusing here. I know I'm talking neuroscience, I've got a lot of things going on, but I'm going to explain it more.
So is this with things like, we talked earlier about overthinking, how that can take over?
Correct. So even overthinking, when we're overthinking, overjudging, criticizing, I'm not good enough, I'm not fit enough, I'm not beautiful enough, I'm not rich enough, I don't have the education, the whole, trying to, having the fear, the mind becomes imbalanced. So you're not mindful, you're half mindful, because you're focusing on one side of things and you're not seeing the other things, or you're focusing on one side of you and you're not aware of the other side of you. You're with me there. So that creates the imbalance. Or when we're resenting people, we see all the bad things that they did and how it disadvantaged us, right? But we don't get to see how that person also served us. The minute we see the other side of how that person served us, in the case of resentment, that makes us mindful. In the case of infatuation, when you're admiring somebody, for example, oh, they're so beautiful, they're so fit, they're gorgeous, we have this fantasy, right? That makes us one-sided, so that's half mindful. But the minute we also see it in our form, hey, I've also been fit, I'm also fit in this form, I'm intelligent also, or I'm also wealthy, and I've actually displayed and demonstrated in these sort of situations, and I see it as in me, it's part of me, that makes you again mindful. So the equation is balanced. And that's why I said, think of it as a mathematical model, bit of like an algebra. This side of the equation equals this side of the equation. So when you are aware of only one side of events, you are half mindful. But when you're aware of both sides, you are mindful completely. And that's the thing that actually, when I talk to people, they meditate, try to be mindful, and it's overly used, right? We try to become mindful, and we're meditating and we investing in ourselves, and it's nice bit of cultural movement globally. People are trying to be mindful, have mindful eating, mindful thinking, mindful language. But if you're not mindful of what's happening within you, then you're not going to be fully mindful. You're half mindful.
So it's like that confusion then that takes over when the confusion we're not balanced in the mind.
Yeah, so when you're confused, you're not balanced in the mind. So when you're fully aware and you've got reflective awareness and you become objective, then you're authentic yourself. You see, whatever is in other people is actually in you. There's nothing missing, and there's that equity and balance and equanimity within you. Then you are fully mindful, and the biochemistry of the mind is balanced. Because the minute that you're actually critical, the biochemistry shifts. The biochemistry of the mind shifts. The biochemistry of the brain shifts. The biochemistry of the body shifts. But when we are mindful, there's a balance, and that balance within is called equanimity. That's what, homeostasis basically.
What would be your top hint for our viewers? Something they can take away today just for themselves to...
So become aware of the language that you're using and see if you are present with yourself. But if you're even struggling with that, see what your mind is doing. Are you focusing only one thing? Are you, for example, judging or criticizing yourself about maybe an event happened during the day? If you are, catch yourself, stop and pause and see what it is actually there and find the opposite of it. So, for example, if you're resenting somebody, say, well, okay, what am I resenting them? What am I exactly resenting them for? And then see the benefit of that inaction, or the trait that you're resenting the individual for, and see how that is also serving you, the benefit of that to you. So then you balance that out. If it is an infatuation, you admire somebody, find it in your own form. Then once you find it, that's also balance. If you're judging somebody else, same thing applies. What are you exactly judging them for? How is it a disadvantage to you when you're judging them? Not just the advantage. So then you balance it there too. So try to find balance, but become aware of your language pattern and the language and the words that you use, and see if you can get on to asking yourself the questions to balance the mind.
Well, thank you very much for that. And for more information on Dr. Zara Celik and mindfulness, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And now for break. We'll see you after the break. After the break, holistic health coach Steve Hall is talking about feeling at home. So stay tuned. Welcome back, and now we have Steve Hall back with us as part of the series on living a life of value and meaning. And today's topic is feeling at home. Welcome back, Steve.
Thanks, Linda. It's wonderful to be here again.
And today you're talking about feeling at home. So how important is it to feel at home?
Linda, it's so important, and I love this topic because it sums up in a feeling, I think. It's what I think of as home feels like. Home is a sense of belonging. You know, you really identify with where you are, and, you know, it's the core of our being. You know, we've learnt who we are and why that's important, but it's also important to understand where we fit in, where we belong, where we feel at home. It doesn't have to be, you know, exactly the home you grew up in, but you need to feel at home somewhere, so it's hugely important.
And why is it important in today's world, do you feel?
Well, the world is changing, but Australia, I see that changing as well. You know, so much of Australia is a multicultural society, so it means a lot of people have left a land and a home somewhere else on a different continent to be here. That's step one. But now, you know, home ownership is something that is more like an investment and a way to grow an income at the same time and set yourself up for the future and all that. So home is no longer a house that you move into when you're young and you first get married and you keep building extensions on and it grows over decades. Now it's like we're more like hermit crabs, and we, you know, get a shell, and once we outgrow it, we move to another one and upgrade, and so it goes. So we can sort of lose that connection with where we might have felt we belonged, because our parents, they probably gave that sense of home to us. And when you go home, it's like, wow, there's a feeling to it. But later on in life, when you get to middle age or older, you know, your parents sooner or later are going to pass away, and you'll be challenged. And it's like, you could be searching for meaning and a belonging, and something's missing, you're not sure what, and it's this connection, this feeling of home. So it's really important that we got somewhere we can identify with it as well as identify who we are. And that goes full circle. You know, you learn who you are as a person, discover what your values are and that you're living your values, you get your identity and you understand who you are, but now you need to have a sense of belonging with it. So when you've got those values and you incorporate them every day into your everyday life, and that could be something like a value could be having fun, or a value could be connecting with other people. Once you understand what your values are, you know, your top 5 or 10 values, you bring them into your life all the time, and you've got to protect them with we call it a boundary, but it's like understanding what makes you you. And so then you can disassociate yourself with any drama going on in life. You don't take on all the drama that's happening around you. You know who you are and you can look at it and you can feel separate to it. It's like, I understand who I am now. There's drama there, there's someone in trouble. I can help them, but I don't have to get involved. I don't have to wear and take the responsibility of everything that's going on. I just take what's in my control. So doing that creates a sense of home in yourself. You start understanding who you are. And when you know that, you feel a lot more powerful, a lot more stable in life. And so no longer do you need somewhere like a home to identify with so that you belong there. It's like all of a sudden you can be in the middle of anywhere in the world, in the middle of any drama going on around you, and you'll feel a little bit more strong and calm in who you are, and you will have a sense of being at home. You've got all the memories that you're brought up with, all those lovely memories and emotions. You'll think of people that made you feel that way, but you will feel at home no matter where you are. It's like you're carrying it around with you. So it's very important.
Well, it's so important too because so many people rent.
Yeah.
Not everybody has a home base that they could call their home.
Yeah.
You know, once you have to move house, it's like creating that new home, isn't it?
Exactly, and more people are renting nowadays for many different reasons, but it's like, isn't it so good to know that it doesn't matter where you are, what situation you're in, that you're going to feel at home no matter where you are. Like, it's really, really good way of living your life and feeling that certainty and sense of power. It's, I think we all need that.
And so what would be the thing you could say for our viewers that we get, one thing that they could do just to help themselves feel at home with themselves?
And this is the fun advice. You know, I don't like giving advice that's onerous or hard, you know, that people go, oh, I have to do that, like dieting, you know, you've got to stop doing something. The advice for feeling at home is do what you love, you know, which are your values. What you really value doing are the things that you love to do naturally and you want to experience all the time. So make sure you live more in accordance with what you love yourself and bring it to life. You are important, invest in yourself, make sure you do those things. Get a list of your values, sort it out. I can't recommend that highly enough. And do one of them every day or all 10 every day and watch your life explode. You know, you become very happy, very centered in who you are. And it's such fun to tick those things off at the end of every day going, I really have done stuff for me. It's really important to bring the best version of yourself out in life, and this is how you do it.
So thanks for joining us for this series. It's wonderful to have spent that time and get all of these valuable tips for our viewers. And we'll finish the show for today and we'll see you next time. So if you have any more information on Steve Hall and living a life of value and meaning, then please go to his webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And we'll see you next week. If you'd like to know more about our show, please like our Facebook page and also subscribe to our YouTube channel.